Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments, and I am bringing you a project recipe today for Wide Open Places. Wide Open Places is a really cool collection that came out earlier in 2022 and just a few months ago. And if you live in a rural community or an area that does anything with cowboys, farms, rodeo, just, you know, any of our farming communities, this is perfect for ranching and all of that. Super fun collection. So today we're going to go ahead and put together the project recipe, and the project recipe uses the new punch that came out with this collection, which is the fence, the field fence. So if you can see that in the video up there, I think you can. There, that's good. This is a really cute version of a border, and we're going to use this in a rather unique way on this layout, as you can see here in the photo that's provided. So let's get started. I've gone ahead and chosen some papers here on my desktop, and I'm just going to move my punches out of the way because we'll use them in a minute or two, but not just now. And so we'll also move this, and I just love this print right here. It reminds me so much of Native American influence, and it's just beautiful, the colors that are in it. And if you flip it over, you've got this beautiful teal colored plaid, and we are going to use both sides of this one. So you want to really like each or both sides of that print. And then I'm also choosing this one, this kind of mustardy brown, yellowish color. It has a very tiny little faint design on it, almost like a wheat chaff. And then it's got these leaves on the other side. We're mainly going to be focused on this side, but we are going to use a portion of another sheet of this later on in the layout for some special flower punches that we're going to do. I've chosen the chicken wire pages as my base pages. They're very generic kind of, and they just have this consistent chicken wire pattern throughout. And so we're going to use this as our base. It has this more metallic kind of design on the back. And I just wanted something a little bit lighter, given that most of the other things we're putting on here are going to be on the dark side. And then you also need a sheet of hot fudge. No, not actual hot fudge. Sorry to disappoint, but a sheet of hot fudge cardstock. And so let's go ahead and get cutting. You're going to need your trimmer. So grab your trimmer and let's cut some pieces out of these things. So we're going to use our hot fudge piece first, and we're going to cut two of our field fences out. And you'll recall with these punches, there are marks right here on the front on either side. So depending on whether you prefer to punch from left to right or from right to left, will determine which of these marks you use to line up your paper to get started. I usually go from left to right when I punch using these. And so I'm going to go ahead and put the edge of my paper lined up with the mark on the left in the front right here. And then I will slide it along. So we make our first punch, then we slide it until the design covers the blue markings on the punch over here on the side. If you've been watching my videos, then you know how this works, because we've done these before. And you just slide it, punch and slide, punch and slide. Some of the designs that these punches use are quite intricate, and so you have to be very careful how they are lined up. But once they are lined up and you punch, they provide some really great design work for your pages. Okay, so there's one, and we're going to do a second one. But before I punch, you'll notice that there are these little notches that you end up with. So to get my punch to go through smoothly, I'm just going to knock those off real quick with my scissors. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to punch the second time through. Love this hot fudge deep chocolate brown. It's really, really nice. Nice color. And I believe this color will be continuing in our line. CM told us at our Creative Minds conference in June that they're going to be coming out with standard cardstock colors that they will carry all the time, and which we were all very excited about, because that means that they'll be carrying colors that will complement and match many of the collections that they come out with, so that's good. All right, so we've got our two fences that we've gotten punched. Let me get rid of my punch confetti, get that in the trash. Now with our remaining piece of brown hot fudge cardstock, we are going to cut at 3.5. So put your paper in your trimmer at 3.5 and flush against the bumper at the top. We're going to cut one there and turn this one and cut it again at 5.5. Now remember, 5.5 is the very edge of your trimmer right out here. There's no actual marking, but if you just put your finger there and move your paper right to the edge, that is 5.5. All right, so we've got one. We're going to cut another one at 5.5, so you'll have two total. So there's two. This little guy we're just going to set aside. Then we're going to take the remainder of our hot fudge cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and knock off these little triangles from my punch, which just is a very quick, whoops, I needed to scoot it over just a tad more, very quick little pass through. So we have a flat, straight edge there. And then we're going to turn this, and we're going to cut at 3 3/4. So we'll have one that this piece is 5 1/4 this way, and it looks like it's 5 1/2. Let's see. Oh, it is. It's 5 1/2. You know what? Let me just check and see where this piece is going and make sure that 5 1/2 is going to work for what we're doing. Okay, 5 1/2. It really does need to be 5 1/4 because this is part of a double mat. So we're just going to cut this down just a tiny bit. Let's go ahead and cut the other piece here. So we need a piece that is 3 3/4. So we're just going to cut this at 3 3/4. Then we're going to turn it, and we're going to cut 2 at 2 1/2. So 2 1/2 by 3 3/4. So there's one. And here's two. Okay. Set those aside. Then these two mats, these two remaining mats, we're going to cut at 3 3/4. And then we're going to trim off 1/4 inch on the side. So 3 3/4 and 3 3/4. Set that piece aside and stack these two and bring them out to 5 1/4, which is really the last mark before your arm, right out here. And we're going to trim off the extra, which is just 1/4 of an inch. Okay. All right, then we're going to take this mustard piece, and I'm going to move my arm out because we're going to need to do some measuring. Okay, so we're going to cut this one at 5.5, which, as we said before, was the very edge of our trimmer, which is true. So 5.5, then we're going to set that 5.5 inch piece aside, and we're going to take this piece, which is going to be 6.5, and we'll just double check the measurement. Yep, 6.5. We're going to turn this one horizontally and cut it right in the middle at 6 inches. So we'll have 2 pieces that are 6 inches by 6.5. Right. Then we're going to take the remainder of our mustard piece, turn it horizontally. We're going to cut 2 of them at 4 inches. There's 1. And 2. And then the remaining piece we're going to turn again so it's horizontal and cut it right in the middle at 2 3/4. So 2 3/4. And then we should have, this piece should be 2 3/4 as well. It's just a hair over, so I'm going to trim it just a little bit just to make sure that it's exactly the size that I want, because this is going to be part of a mat. Okay, so then we are going to go ahead and proceed with cutting our this designer paper. This is the last one, and we need this one. We need 2 cut at 4.5 inches, and you want it, this is going to be somewhat directional, so if you want it on your page like this, then this is the way you'll cut it. If you'd rather have it on your page like this, then this is the way you'll cut it. So it would be on your page vertically, and you just want to decide whether you want your main design to be more horizontal or more vertical. I think I want mine to be more vertical. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 4.5 with my design, the long part up and down. Okay, so 4.5, and then I need one more that's 4.5. All right, now I need 2 that are 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to use this side of my sorry, this side of my mat, of my, gosh, the word just flew out of my head. But I'm going to use this side to measure, and we're going to do 1 at 3/4 and another 1 at 3/4, lining it up to make sure my edge is straight the whole way. And that should leave me with a 1.5 inch strip, which it pretty well does. All right. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn this one and cut it at 6 inches. So it should be 1.5 by 6 inches. All right, so we've got 2 of those. We'll set aside over here, and those are all of our pieces for right now. We are going to punch something else though in a little bit using the Field Flowers punch, which is right here. So if you have that handy, you will need it in a little bit, but for right now, we're not gonna worry about it just yet. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to take these 3/4 inch strips, we're going to flip them over, and let me move some of these pieces out of the way so that we can set our 2 base pieces out. Oh, we are going to need our trimmer to cut these in half as well, so sorry about that. All right, so we're going to separate our base pieces so we have both of them laid out here. We've got this piece that's going to go out this way, and this piece that's going to go out this way. These two that are going to go out this way. We're going to leave about 1/2 inch of our background page showing. 1/2 inch or so on the edge. Okay, so about like so. Then we're going to take our 2 larger mustard pieces, and those are going to go in the center just like so. Okay. And let's see, we need a little bit more space because that is supposed to go all the way to the edge like that. So maybe more like 1/4 inch of that background showing. Okay, we're going to take our 1.5 by 6 inch pieces. We're going to flip those over so we see that pretty green plaid, and then these pieces are going to go right here. Oh, you know why that's not working the way I'm expected? Because these are supposed to be turned. All right. I kept thinking I had something a little hinky. So that's the something that's a little hinky. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so that's the way those are going to fit together, roughly. All right. Now we need to go ahead and cut our punched pieces in half. So I am going to pull out my arm on my trimmer so I can make sure that I get these cut right in the center. And I'm going to actually put them together so they get punched in the same, or cut in the same spot. Okay, so let's figure out where the 6 inch mark is. There's the 6 inch mark. So it's right in the middle of that post. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? All right, so here we go. Just cutting that right in half. Then we've got 2 for each side of our layout. And these are going to go right on top of that edge, right there. And right on top of, or right below this edge up here. So the top of the fence on the top edge is right at the top of that mustard piece. And the bottom of the fence on the bottom end is right at the bottom of the mustard piece. Does that make sense? For now, I'm just laying them on here just to get a sense of where everything's going to go. Make sure that I cut it right so it's going to fit where I want it. Okay. All right. Now we're going to take, since we're cutting all of our pieces, let me go ahead and just scoot this forward just a little. I'm going to take this this piece, which is also this mustard paper right here, but we're going to use the flip side of it with these cute little leaves, and we're going to just cut some flowers from this one and use our wildflower punch. And the reason I want to do this is so that I can put some flowers behind our fence. So we're just going to go ahead and line this up and punch these out. This is not necessarily called for on the project recipe instructions. I just thought it would look nice to have some flowers in there, and because, let's see, maybe we'll just put them across this one that's right in the center of our page. I think that would probably be enough, don't you? Let's try it. If it's not, then we can always punch another strip of our wildflowers. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim this. Grab my trimmer, and I'm going to trim these flowers with the tall flower hitting about 1 3/8, and then we'll see how that works. I think that'll be best, 1 3/8. Okay, set that over there real quick, and then we'll turn this and cut it at 6 inches so that we know it is the right length. Okay, and I'm probably going to need to do a little bit of trimming because of the way that the design punched out. So I'll just get my precision cut scissors here real quick, and we'll just trim this design up just a tad, especially over here where we've got a flower that's kind of blowing in the wind, as it were. I'm just gonna trim that off so we have all those flowers together. And the same thing for right here. We're just gonna make this a kind of a blade of grass. Trim that off. And this side is okay, I think, probably. We'll round this up just a little so it can be a flower. All right. So grab your repositionable adhesive, and we're going to add adhesive to our fence. Don't add it to your flowers, add the adhesive to your fence. All right? And the reason I'm saying that is because you just don't know where the flowers are going to poke through on the fence. So we want the adhesive on the back of the fence, and we're going to put the flowers, I'm going to put the flowers coming up from the base of the fence, like that. And I'm just going to trim this edge really quick to make sure that it doesn't show. Okay, and the reason I'm putting the flowers so high is because of the fact that we have the base of the fence at the base of this other paper. I think that's what I want right there. So the flowers show just a little bit above the fence. Okay. And they're not meant to be super visible, so you're not going to be able to see them a whole lot. They're just meant to give a little bit of variety to the design. All right, so there's that one. Okay. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put my fence with my flowers on. I'm going to put both pieces of fence on this centerpiece, because right now I can move it around and I can decide where I want it based on the height of where the fence sits. Once I have this piece glued down, it's harder to do that. So if I can go ahead and put these on, because I know where they're gonna fall. Then it will be easier to judge where I want the other pieces in my layout to go. All right, so that piece is going to go in right in there roughly, and this piece will go right underneath it. Now let me put my mats on just to see where we want those, and then that way maybe we will be able to put this piece down onto our bottom area. Okay, so I've got these two mats, and I've got these two mats, and I've got these two mats. Hope you can see those on camera. I'm just gonna do a quick check here to see which ones go where. Okay, so the 5 1/4, which are these, are vertical, so I have those correct. They are vertical. And then the 3 1/2 by 5 1/2, which are these. Let me just make sure. Yep, 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. Those are horizontal. And then the smaller ones are going to be horizontal, so I have those vertical. So we'll just turn those just so we can see which way they're going. Okay, this piece goes underneath for that mat, each of those like so, and this piece goes underneath here to double mat these. All right, and then these will go here and here. These, I feel like I'm missing something. So let me just double check something here. Oh, nope. Oh, that's it. Okay. So these two will go right here, and they are just single matted. And then these two are gonna go down here. And you can keep them all, you can keep your mats all, you know, perfectly centered like this, or you could glue them down so they're slightly askew, which would kind of add some interest to the lower portion of the layout. So it just depends on how you want to play it. You could also, if you wanted to do them askew like this, then you could maybe make these side ones slightly askew as well. Something like that. So that the brown is straight, but the mustard colored paper is slightly sideways. Okay, so I like the height of this where it is, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it down right there. I'm not referring to the cardstock, I'm referring to this larger piece that we put together already. So I'm gonna go ahead and add adhesive to that. And we're gonna go ahead and put it down about here. So it's roughly about an inch from the top of my post to the edge of my base page. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this piece, which is just going to slide up and underneath my fence right here. Get under there. Okay. Just like that. Okay. And this piece, again, I'm just going to go ahead and, whoa, add, my punch just fell over. Sorry about that. Going to just put this on temporarily with my repositionable adhesive so that if for some reason I want to change the orientation of that, I can. Just moving a couple things out of the way so we can get these other big pieces put down. And this is going to be flush with the top and bottom of my page and right up against the edge right here of my design that work that I did already. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and do this last little piece. This goes right up against the edge here. I need to slide it down just a smidge, slide it down, okay. All right, so you'll see we were left with more like 3/4 of an inch out here on the edge so we can see our base page. So that's why I like to wait and frame things, you know, work from my center out. You just never quite know where things are going to fall sometimes if you haven't arranged them before. I'm going to go the more kind of sedate route with that mat. And I'm just setting it on there just to get an idea till we know what our embellishments are. Then we can figure out whether we want to put that down or wait until we have photos. Same thing with this one. Okay, so those are just going to sit there for a minute while I do the rest on the left hand side of the page, which is just going to go ahead and mirror the right hand side of the page. Okay, come here. Let's turn this to the side like we did last time. That worked well. So I could line up this top edge of the fence. Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to put my pages together because I want my center pieces, these mustard parts and my fences, I want them all to match. So I'm gonna go ahead and by putting my centerpieces together, then I can line up. Of course, they won't be this close together once they're in my album, because I'll have jeeping and there'll be a little bit of a gap there from the page separation. But the closer I can make those main features, the more the rest of my design stays lined up and even. Okay, there's that piece. That piece is already matted. We're gonna temporarily stick this piece right here in the middle. We're gonna mat this guy. All right, that's done. Now we're gonna get this piece down. We're almost ready to embellish. This page wasn't too bad, don't you think? Not too complicated, I think. Could have been worse, for sure, but I think it went together pretty smooth. Hopefully yours did too. When you get your page together, I would love to see your end result, especially if you use different papers than I did, because it's always fun to see varieties. If you made this project recipe with a different collection, I would love to see that as well. Make sure you add it into the comments and let me know what you think, okay? All right, so now we've got these. Let's go ahead and take a look at some mats and see if we have anything exciting and fun in here that we could use on our page. So we've got this one, which would match our colors. We've got this one, which would match our colors, but not as excited about that one. There's virtue in country houses and gardens and orchards in fields, streams and groves, in rustic recreations and plain manners. Amos Alcott. I long for the countryside. That's where I get my calm and tranquility. That's a good one. And we could do it either direction, which I like. Plus I like the colors in it. So I think we'll hold that one out. I like this one as far as being a journal box. That would be good maybe to add. We could fussy cut it. A little dirt never hurt. That one definitely matches our colors that we've got going on this page, but I don't think so, not today. All right, another one that I found that I thought was really cool and I wanted to see about doing something with is this one. If you have this mat in your still in your collection, I love this. It's actually designed to look like saloon doors and be journal boxes, which is really cool. And if we had this on here, then we would not need to provide other journal boxes. But what I worry about in using this is that, number one, it's bigger than our space up here, and it kind of takes over, you know, it's kind of not really, there isn't really a good spot for it. But I wanted to mention this to you because if you are doing another layout with this design, this would be perfect for using peekaboo pockets with. And if you've gotten some of our secret boxes, then you have the different sized peekaboo pockets. As you see, these peekaboo pockets are 4x4. They're perfectly designed for a 4x4 photo. And you could use these with this. You could just cut this card down to 4x4 size, add a little cardstock behind it that's 4x4 in each one of those, and then you have room for a 4x4 picture on the back as these fold out. Okay, so we might consider putting this on our page. Let's go ahead and finish with some embellishments with this in mind, and then we'll see what we want to do. If we use this, however, let's see, probably aren't going to use all of these. Let's set these aside though, and maybe we'll use them. I'll just set them up here in front of me. I know you probably can't see that on the video, but that's okay. It'll keep them in the forefront of my mind. Okay, so we're gonna just set this forward while we think about some embellishments we could put on here. And let's see. I really like this Hello Darling and Peace and Tranquility that can be found in the country. It would be really nice to pick up some more of this kind of red orangey color. So we could use Easy Livin' or Life is Tough, My Darling, but so are you. Or even Love This. What could we do? We could make our saloon doors these outside pieces that are closer to being a 4x4 size, but they would not cover it completely. So it depends on your taste of what you would like to do. I think I'm going to trim this down so it will fit inside here for one, and then we will just make some clusters for the rest. So let's see here. That piece there is meant for a 3.5 by 5, so that means this 4-inch piece we need to trim down to 3.5. So we're gonna trim 1/4 of an inch off of each side of this mat to make it 3.5, and still keep the saying right in the middle. And then we need 5 by 5. So let's see, if we cut it here, we'd be cutting it right underneath the grass, and I feel like we need a little bit of the grass to be showing. So let's trim off 1/4 inch of this and then see where we would be cutting it. Okay, so we got 1/4 inch there, and at 5 inches we'd be cutting it right there. I think that'll work. So we can put that right in the center and have that double matted essentially, which is cool. And then let's see. Let's use Hello Darling because we can put this right underneath here on this side and pull in some more of that green. Let's see, what else can we add to that? Lots of different choices. Hello Darling. We can add the barn to continue to add a little bit more of that red in. So we could put the Hello Darling on top, maybe add a horse, but we want one proportionate to the barn, so we'll add this little horse right here. Don't want to add the big horse that's as big as the barn. That kind of probably wouldn't work too terribly well. So we're gonna just offset the horse just a little bit like so. And let's go ahead and secure this guy so that he's not floating around, since we're gonna put an embellishment down. And I'm gonna raise this up just a little bit so that when we put the embellishment on, it will, the whole thing will be more centered on the page. Okay, so we're gonna put this guy kind of right here, just barely touching the mat that the picture is on above it. And then we're going to pop Hello Darling up with some foam squares so that it really stands out. And I need one for this tail over here too. So let me grab my smaller ones and we'll just cut a couple of them in half. That way we can add them on to the tail more easily. Keep that from sticking down. I'll just stick a couple of small ones right here in the middle to keep it from sticking to our page. Okay. Well, the backs, I've never had that happen before. Have the back not want to come off of my foam square. Come on, there we go. All right, one more little bitty one. Come on, get off there. Okay. Sometimes they like to stick to my fingers too. All right, so we've got Hello Darling, which we're just gonna place right here kind of to the side. Okay, we've got that still sticking up. All right, and then we're going to adhere these guys as well. And we should probably go ahead and put our embellishment on this side more up at the top so that it balances out the hello over here on this side. Let's see. We can let's see, we're gonna put, I love the windmill, and actually I'm gonna just center this, and then we can put a couple of different clusters on over here. So we're gonna use the windmill and the wheat. And we're gonna kind of put those together, maybe just like that. And then, let's see, maybe a flower. We could put a small flower with it. And we'll pop the flower up with some foam squares. So let's put this down. Almost done. So we'll go ahead and put this kind of in the middle of our page. centered. There we go. We'll put our windmill a little bit off to the side over here with our wheat. Let's get some foam squares for these flowers. I'm going to use another one of these that I cut in half for the stem to keep it from sticking down. Come on, stay there. All right. There we go. Okay, we need one more cluster or something simple for right up there. Let's do, we already have this quote, so I don't want to add more words. I think I'm just going to go ahead and add, oh, you know what? We could just add these cows in up there. Those would work. Stick those together. And then I'm going to use a red star to kind of pull some more of that red color up. Maybe we'll just put it right on the side of the cow. We have a lot of cattle here in our area, so that'll work. And we'll just stick him kind of right here on this corner. That gives us our visual triangle for our design. And I'm gonna leave these just temporarily stuck down and probably put them at a slight angle just to add a little bit more interest to this lower area, just like so. All right, so there is our wide open places project recipe design. And like I said, I would love to see yours, especially if you do this with another collection. I think that would be fascinating and really cool to see. So I would love it if you'd share it with me or with all of us. All right, I hope that you have enjoyed putting this together, and until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Thanks so much, and you have a great day.